Welcome to The Debate. It is Thursday, February 12th, 2026.
And we are standing at, well, what I think is the most confusing intersection in the history of media.
Confusing is definitely the right word. For the last, 3 years now, we've ridden this just exponential wave of generative video. We've seen VO 3.1, Sora 2.1, and the amusingly named but incredibly powerful Nanobana Pro. They all promised us a kind of utopia, a world where content was infinite, cheap, and instant.
Right. The promise was that you would never need a camera again. You type a prompt, you get a movie.
Exactly. But as is often the case with tech, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And we're seeing that now, a sharp return to the physical. Specifically, the rise of these micro-video labs, like Voxel down in San Pedro.
So that really sets the stage for today. We're looking at this clash between the scale engine of AI and the trust engine of physical reality.
The question we're tackling is specifically for the small business owner in 2026. If you have limited resources, where do you place your bet? Do you invest in the infinite scalability of synthetic media, or do you lean into what I call the geographic gravity of physical studios?
Mm-hmm. And just so the listeners know where we stand, I'm taking the side of the future. I'm arguing for the AI-generated approach. When you look at the data, 90% cost reductions, instant localization into 150 languages, the ability to clone yourself for hyper-niche markets, I believe that refusing to use these tools is essentially choosing to be inefficient. It's ignoring the greatest leverage point in business history.
And I'm taking the side of Voxel and the physical world. I believe that in this era of absolute content saturation, what everyone is calling AI slop, human authority, copyrightable IP, and, that biological connection, those are the only currencies that actually hold any value.
The lines are drawn. Why don't you kick us off? Make the case for the physical world in 2026.
My core thesis is built around the trust engine. If you look at the internet right now, it is just flooded. We are drowning in generic synthesized content. And because of that, the premium on actual human connection has skyrocketed. But there's a much more practical side to this we need to address first. It's the concept of burnout.
Burnout? You mean just from the general workload of running a business?
No, I mean specifically tool fatigue. Think about the promise of AI video 3 years ago. It was supposed to save us time. But for the average small business owner, it has actually given them a second job. They became prompt engineers.
That's a bit uncharitable. The tools are so much better than they were back in 2024.
They are better, but they are not frictionless. I talk to business owners every day who are just exhausted. They are spending hours tweaking scripts, regenerating avatars because the hands look wrong, or fixing lip sync issues where the mouth doesn't quite match the words. They're sitting in front of a dashboard, managing render credits, and debugging visuals. They don't want to be technical directors. They want to be business owners.
I can concede that there's a learning curve.
It's not just a learning curve, it's operational friction. And this is where Voxel Microvideo Labs offers what I call operational sanity. It is a live-to-tape workflow.
Okay, define that for the listeners who haven't been in a studio recently.
Live-to-tape means you record it, and that is the final product. No editing, no rendering. You walk into a global leader suite in San Pedro. The lighting is professionally dialed in. It's cinematic, rim-lit, perfect color grading. You have 4K cameras rolling. You sit down, you record 50 minutes of content, and you walk out. You are done. There is no rendering time, no prompting, no debugging.
But you are still physically driving to a location. You're dealing with traffic, parking, scheduling.
Which is a feature, not a bug. That physical presence triggers mirror neurons.
Okay, now you're getting into biology.
Because business is biological. Mirror neurons are brain cells that react both when we perform an action and when we see someone else do it. When a client sees you, a real human, sitting in a real room looking into the lens, their brain syncs with yours. If you are in high-stakes industries, real estate, law, finance, closing a high-ticket deal requires that biological connection. A client needs to trust you with their money, not a synthesized avatar.
I get the psychological angle.
Plus, there's the asset class argument. Voxel content is a human-authored asset. It can be copyrighted, you own the master files. In the US, you currently cannot copyright purely AI-generated works. So if you build your brand on AI, you are building on rented land. Voxel gives you IP ownership that actually increases your business valuation.
That's a strong opening. I'll give you that, particularly on the copyright front. However, I think you're prioritizing a very specific type of premium interaction and ignoring the operational reality of growth. My core thesis is the scale engine.
Go on.
Traditional production, even efficient production like Voxel, is a bottleneck. It requires a body in a room. It requires you to be healthy, awake, and in San Pedro. AI eliminates those constraints entirely.
But at what cost to quality?
At a gain in efficiency that is, it's just undeniable. We're seeing data from platforms like DeepBrain AI and VidBoard showing that AI studios reduce production time by 90% and cost by 70 to 90%. We aren't just talking about generating cartoons anymore. I mean, look at tools like LTX Studio.
That's the visualization tool, right?
Right. It allows creators to visualize camera angles, storyboard, and generate video from simple text prompts. You can type "pan across a modern office, morning light," and it generates the shot. You are effectively a studio head without the studio.
Visualization is one thing, the final product is another.
But consider the reach. You mentioned the physical drive to San Pedro. That limits you to the English-speaking market in your immediate locality. With AI, a small business owner can record a product demo once. Then, using tools like 11 Labs or HeyGen, they can instantly translate and lip-sync that video into over 150 languages.
The lip-syncing tech has gotten frighteningly good, I'll grant you.
You can have a perfect pitch in Mandarin, French, and Spanish without hiring a single local spokesperson. You are effectively cloning your best salesperson, yourself, and sending them to every country on Earth simultaneously. Voxel cannot do that.
That is impressive tech. For a global software company, that makes a lot of sense.
It makes sense for the local guy, too. It allows for what's called hyper-niche viability. You can profitably produce content for an audience of 20 people. Imagine a daily video update on pollen counts for a specific neighborhood. You couldn't afford to film that at Voxel. The overhead is too high. But the marginal cost of AI production is near zero. That is the future of business efficiency.
I see the utility in the pollen count example, certainly. But you touched on cost there, and I want to drill down on that. Let's move into the core debate and talk about the money. Because I think there is a massive misconception about the actual economics here.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that there's a misconception. I mean, the math seems pretty clear to me. Traditional video can cost, $1,000 to $5,000 per minute if you go the full agency route. Even with cheaper setups, AI is getting down to 50 cents per minute with tools like VidBoard or basic avatars. How can you argue against 50 cents a minute?
Because you're comparing apples to oranges. You're comparing low-end, static AI avatars to high-end production. If we look at the high-quality AI that actually competes with a camera, tools like VO3 or Sora's enterprise tier, the compute costs are significant.
They're higher, sure, but not prohibitive.
Are they? We're seeing rates around $30 per minute when you factor in the takes. Let's be honest about the workflow. You never get the prompt right the first time. You generate it 5 times to get one usable minute. A 50-minute narrative generated by high-end AI could easily cost you $1,500 in credits and compute time, plus the human hours to prompt it.
That assumes you're generating a blockbuster movie from scratch. Most businesses are using avatars for training or updates.
Even then, look at Voxel's pricing. Their Velocity starter session is $30.
$30 per minute?
No, $30 for a 50-minute recording session. That is the disruption. Even their top-tier global leader suite with all the cinematic lighting is $140. If I want to record a 50-minute keynote or a podcast episode, Voxel is objectively cheaper than high-end AI generation. You're paying for the time in the room, whereas with AI, you are paying for every single pixel you generate.
That is a compelling argument for long form. I will concede that. If you're doing a 50-minute monologue, the compute costs of AI do add up. However, AI wins on the volume of short clips. If you need 51-minute videos for TikTok, generating them is faster than filming them, resetting, and editing.
Faster, perhaps. But let's talk about where those videos live. This brings us to my second major point: search engine authority and SEO.
You mean EAT?
Exactly. Experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Google and Gemini are actively filtering for this. They are trying to clean up the web.
Right, they're fighting the slop. The internet is filling up with garbage and they need to sort it.
And how do they identify not slop? They look for the human signal. This is where the concept of geographic gravity comes in. If you film in a physical studio in San Pedro, you are creating metadata. You have visual cues of a physical room. You have unique audio signatures. These things prove you are a real business in a real location.
So you're saying the studio itself is a ranking factor?
Essentially, yes. It distinguishes you from the millions of spam channels generated by bots. Building a brand entirely on AI avatars is a massive risk because you are one algorithm update away from being suppressed as synthetic content.
I see your point about the filter bubbles, but I think you are underestimating personalization. The value of AI isn't just creating generic content to rank on Google. It's about direct outreach. We have stats showing that personalized video, where the avatar actually speaks the prospect's name, achieves 300% higher response rates.
Sure, for cold outreach emails.
It's powerful. Voxel cannot record 1,000 unique names. If I have a list of 1,000 leads, I can have my AI avatar say, "Hi, John. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Mike," in minutes. That level of hyper-personalization drives revenue. That is not slop. That is targeted communication.
I agree that for cold sales, that has utility. But walk me through the funnel. Once Sarah or Mike clicks the link, what do they see? If they land on a page with more synthetic avatars, the trust erodes. They need to see the founder. They need to see the whites of your eyes.
Perhaps. But let's look at the flip side of that founder presence. Let's talk about liability.
Please, let's do. Because this is my strongest point.
Well, I come at it from a different way. I think liability is a hurdle, that it's manageable.
It's more than a hurdle, it's a minefield. In 2026, we are seeing the first wave of lawsuits regarding AI hallucinations in marketing. If an AI tool hallucinates, if your avatar promises a feature your software doesn't have, or gives incorrect medical advice because the LLM drifted, you, the business owner, are liable for deceptive marketing. You can be sued for what your avatar said.
That's why you have a human-in-the-loop review. You don't just let the bot post without checking.
But that defeats your efficiency argument. If I have to watch every second of video to ensure the AI didn't glitch, I might as well have recorded it myself. With Voxel, you have verified human truth. There are no deepfake risks. It is you, on the record, stating facts you stand behind. For lawyers, doctors, financial advisors, you cannot risk a hallucination.
I can see the liability point for high-stakes industries. If you're giving medical advice, you should probably be the one speaking. However, I want to pivot to rapid prototyping. You're framing this as final product only.
How so?
Tools like LTX Studio allow creators to visualize commercials and storyboards before spending money. Even if you eventually shoot at Voxel, using AI to prototype the shot list, the lighting, and the script saves thousands of dollars in pre-production. It's not about replacing the human, it's about making the human more efficient.
That is a fair use case. Using AI as a sketchpad is smart. Using it as the final canvas is where I take issue. And that brings us to the elephant in the room, the uncanny valley.
Is there still a valley? I mean, have you seen the output from GPT Image 1.5 or Kling 2.6? The gap is closing. Distinguishing AI from reality is becoming nearly impossible for the average viewer.
Visually? Perhaps. But emotionally? No. I'm not convinced by that line of reasoning because humans are evolved to detect micro-expressions. We're talking about founder stories or brand anthems. When a founder talks about why they started their company, the pain, the struggle, the triumph, AI struggles with the soul of that performance.
It's getting better at inflection. You can dial in sadness or excitement.
Inflection isn't connection. Nate Tomeo said it best. Listeners want a connection with human consciousness. Without that, engagement drops. If I suspect a computer is telling me a story about overcoming adversity, I feel manipulated. If a human tells me, I feel inspired. That emotional resonance is the difference between a view and a sale.
I think you're romanticizing the founder story a bit. For a brand anthem, sure. But for an internal training video on how to use the new coffee machine, nobody needs soul. They just need clarity.
Agreed. For the coffee machine, use the robot. For the quarterly earnings report to investors, use the human.
So we seem to be circling a division of labor here. It's not a winner-take-all scenario.
We are. So let's wrap this up. How do you summarize the case for the scale engine in 2026?
Look, for internal training, for global expansion into new languages, and for hyper-niche volume like the pollen count example, AI is the superior choice. It's faster, cheaper, and more flexible. Ignoring AI is ignoring the greatest efficiency lever in history. My advice is to use AI for the reach, slicing content, translating it, and handling the back-office video tasks. Don't be a Luddite.
And my summary is this. For high-stakes sales, for legal protection, and for brand authority, Voxel is the clear winner. The anti-burnout angle is real. Voxel allows owners to speak their truth without becoming technical directors. And crucially, Voxel content is the flagship asset that secures IP ownership and increases your business valuation.
So where does that leave our listener?
It leaves them with a hybrid strategy. This is the verdict for 2026.
I agree. The hybrid model.
You use Voxel for the face. You act as the chief human officer of your brand. You record your core flagship content, your podcasts, your sales pages, your keynotes at Voxel. This secures your IP, your trust, and that critical geographic gravity.
And then you use AI for the reach. You take that high-quality Voxel footage and you used AI tools to slice it into social clips, translate it for international markets, and generate those personalized follow-up emails we talked about.
Exactly. You use Voxel to build the authority, and you use AI to distribute it. The human face remains the premium asset, but the AI engine gives it wings.
That sounds like a strategy that actually works in the real world. Use the human for the soul and the machine for the scale.
It certainly does. Thank you for listening to the debate.
See you next time.